Shalom, friends. As a kid, I loved Mike Tyson's Punch-Out on my old Nintendo. Whether it was King Hippo pulling his pants up while you smack him in the gut for some reason, Von Kaiser raising his mustache before a knockdown, or the hilarious insults spewed at you between rounds, the game is epic. And yes, I still play it today. Some things are timeless, like this game, and the Bible. Now you might be thinking, how do a bunch of pixelated boxers fit with the Word of God? Well, in this video, we are going to connect each opponent from Mike Tyson's Punch-Out to a character from the Bible. If you love this game as much as I do and want a fun, humorous way to see it through a biblical lens, then this video is for you. This will not just be a walk down memory lane. It will be a sprint, a dodge, and a knockout journey through Scripture. So grab your gloves and let's jump into the ring together. Trust me, you will not want to miss this. It's going to be as fun as finally landing that KO punch on Mike Tyson. Or so I've heard. I've never actually done it. I still can't beat him. Oi. Let's get started. Up first, we have Glass Joe. If you have ever played Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, you know Glass Joe. He's the first opponent, and man, oh man, is he bad. I mean, the guy has a record of 1 win and 99 losses. At that point, you gotta ask, did he win his first match, or did the other guy lose it on purpose? What a pushover. Anyway, it's no wonder the creators made him the proverbial tune-up match in the game. But who is his counterpart from the Bible? Enter the Philistines struck with hemorrhoids, as described in 1 Samuel chapter 5, verses 6 through 12. These Philistines thought they could handle the Ark of the Covenant. Spoiler alert, they couldn't. God afflicted them with hemorrhoids, and just like Glass Joe, they were down for the count, and no longer a pain in the tuchus. The rabbinic literature gets in on the humor too. The Midrash in Midrash Rabbah, 1 Samuel chapter 5, verse 6 says, "The Philistines discovered that no matter how mighty a warrior might be, he cannot fight a battle when he cannot sit down." Imagine Glass Joe trying to take a jab while wincing from sitting wrong. That is the Philistines in a nutshell. Glass Joe and the Philistines remind us that without strength or humility, even the simplest challenges can be too much to handle. Let's move on to our next opponent. Now we have Von Kaiser, the second opponent in Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Von Kaiser is a military man, disciplined and imposing, but let's not kid ourselves here. He's no Mike Tyson. He comes in with that stern mustache and rigid attitude, ready to fight, but honestly, his bark is worse than his bite. Von Kaiser might look like a drill sergeant, but he fights like a girl. His downfall? He is predictable and cannot handle pressure. But who in the Bible mirrors this power-hungry, mustache persona? Enter Haman, the villain of the book of Esther, chapter 3, verses 1 through 15. Haman was not just power-hungry, he was downright obsessed with exterminating the Jews, all because of this one guy, Mordecai, who refused to bow to him. Throw a hissy fit, why don't you? A little temper tantrum there for poor little Haman. Too bad, Haman, too bad. Haman, like Von Kaiser, was disciplined in his plotting, but hilariously bad at delivering results. Rabbinic literature has a field day with Haman's ridiculousness. The Midrash in Midrash Rabbah, Esther, chapter 7, verse 10, remarks, "Haman built gallows tall enough to touch the heavens, but forgot the most important detail. Do not stand beneath them." Good advice. Imagine Von Kaiser barking orders while stepping on his own shoelaces. That's pretty much Haman in a nutshell. Von Kaiser and Haman show us that when you plot against God's people, you might just end up being your own worst enemy. Let's see who steps into the ring next. Next up, we face Piston Honda, the proud and powerful boxer who represents Japan. Piston Honda is a step up in difficulty. He's big, he's strong, lumbering. He loves to intimidate his opponents with his size and flashy style. Here's the thing. His attacks are repetitive, and once you figure out his pattern, he's not so tough. Piston Honda might act like a champion, but his overconfidence is his undoing. In the Bible, Piston Honda's counterpart is King Hiram of Tyre, as found in 1 Kings chapter 5. Now, I know what you're thinking. Hiram, he wasn't a villain, he was a good guy, you schmuck. You're a putz, you're a schmendrick, you're a schmagegi. Hey, how cool is Yiddish, by the way? We got all these awesome words for stupid. It's a fun language. Anyway, you would be correct. Unlike most of Little Mac's opponents, Hiram was an honorable man. He respected King Solomon and even helped him build the temple by supplying cedar wood and skilled laborers. However, like Piston Honda, Hiram was a man of immense pride. He loved showcasing his kingdom's strength and influence. The rabbinic literature has an amusing take on Hiram's character. In Midrash Rabbah, 1 Kings, chapter 5, verse 13, it says, Hiram boasted that the cedars of Lebanon would outlast the temple itself. Yet, it was the temple that stood eternal in the hearts of men, while Hiram's wood fell to dust. Imagine Piston Honda showing off his moves, only to get knocked out in the second round. That is Hiram's vibe. A lot of flair, but in the end, God's plan always wins. Piston Honda and King Hiram remind us that even the strongest and most prideful need to acknowledge something greater than ourselves. It is not about strength or status, it's about serving a higher purpose. Let's keep moving forward in this journey through Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Now, we enter the ring with Don Flamenco, the most flamboyant and self-assured boxer in Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, who I just hate the most. Personal opinion. With his roses, dance moves, and over-the-top bravado, Don Flamenco oozes confidence. However, as soon as you land a punch, he quickly crumbles with just about the dumbest look on his face, perhaps in all of history. Seriously, look at how stupid that face is. It's amazing. He is the epitome of style over substance, making him a memorable but not so formidable opponent. His biblical counterpart? None other than Jezebel, the infamous queen from 1 Kings chapter 16, verses 29 through 33. Jezebel was the wife of King Ahab and was known for her manipulative, proud, and idolatrous ways. Like Don Flamenco, Jezebel relied on charm and guile to maintain control. But beneath the surface, her schemes were no match for God's power. Rabbinic literature humorously highlights Jezebel's vanity. In Midrash Rabbah, 1 Kings chapter 21, verse 25, it says, Jezebel painted her eyes to deceive the world, but no amount of makeup could mask the truth when the dogs came for her. I mean, for my money, that is about as close to Don Flamenco crumbling after a single punch as you can possibly get. He might look sharp, but when the chips are down, oh, it's all over, Donnie. Don Flamenco and Jezebel teach us a simple lesson. Appearances can be deceiving, but true strength comes from humility and truth. Let's move forward to our next opponent and see what lessons the Bible has in store. Up next is King Hippo, the heavyweight champion of Mystery Island and one of the most unique boxers, let's go with that, in Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. King Hippo's massive size and imposing stature make him seem unbeatable at first, but he has a glaring weakness. One punch to the stomach and he falls faster than a house of cards. King Hippo is the perfect example of someone who looks invincible but has no real foundation to stand on. His biblical counterpart? That would be King Eglon of Moab, as found in Judges chapter 3, verses 12 through 30. King Eglon was an oppressor of Israel, described in the Bible as an incredibly fat and decadent ruler. He reveled in his power and luxury, but his size made him an easy target for Ehud, the left-handed judge, who assassinated him with a concealed dagger. Much like King Hippo, Eglon's appearance of strength hid his vulnerability, although I don't remember King Eglon having to constantly drop and pick up his shorts. that little nugget is uniquely Hippo. I don't know where that came from. The rabbinic literature has a sharp wit about Eglon's demise. In Midrash Rabbah, Judges chapter 3, verse 22, it is written, Eglon sat so long on his throne that it became part of him. When he fell, even the throne cried out in relief. That's a good one. Imagine King Hippo getting KO'd and the ring itself having a sigh of relief. That is Eglon in a nutshell. He was a burden to everyone, including his own furniture. King Hippo and King Eglon show us that no matter how strong someone appears, everyone has a weakness. True strength comes from character, not appearance. Let's step into the next round and see who's waiting for us. Our next opponent is Great Tiger, the illusionist of the ring. With his flashy teleportation moves and magical flair, Great Tiger relies on tricks and confusion to overwhelm his opponents. But once you figure out the rhythm of his attacks, his illusions fall apart, and he becomes surprisingly easy to defeat. Great Tiger is the classic example of style without substance. His biblical counterpart? None other than Balaam, the sorcerer from Numbers chapter 22 through chapter 24. Balaam was hired by Balak, the king of Moab, to curse the Israelites. Like Great Tiger, Balaam relied on his magical powers and illusions, but when confronted by God, he was exposed as powerless. Instead of cursing Israel, Balaam ended up blessing them, proving that no amount of trickery can stand against the will of God. The rabbinic literature adds a touch of humor to Balaam's downfall. In Midrash Rabbah, Numbers, chapter 22, verse 30, it is said, "Balaam, who claimed to see the secrets of heaven, could not even see the angel standing before his donkey." Picture Great Tiger teleporting around the ring, only to trip over his own feet. That is Balaam, a self-proclaimed seer who could not see what was right in front of him. Great Tiger and Balaam remind us that deception and trickery are no match for truth and faith in God. Let's keep going and see who is next to challenge us in the ring. Next in the ring is Bald Bull, one of the most intimidating opponents in Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Bald Bull is known for his raw aggression, relentless charging attack, and physical strength. His infamous bull charge can knock you down instantly if you do not time your counter perfectly. However, as fearsome as he seems, his predictable attacks make him vulnerable to a skilled and patient fighter. His biblical counterpart? Goliath, the Philistine giant from 1 Samuel chapter 17. Goliath was a towering and fearsome warrior who terrified the Israelites with his size and strength. Like Bald Bull, Goliath relied on his physical dominance and intimidation to overwhelm his opponents. But just as Little Mac can bring down Bald Bull with a perfectly timed punch, David, armed with nothing but a sling and faith in God, brought Goliath to the ground with one precise stone. What makes this pairing even more fitting is their shared arrogance and habit of taunting their opponents. Bald Bull grins and mocks Little Mac before charging, just as Goliath belittled David, saying, "Am I a dog that you come to me with sticks?" 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 43. Both characters underestimated their opponents and paid the price for their arrogance. Rabbinic literature reflects on Goliath's misplaced confidence with a touch of humor. In Midrash Rabbah, 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 49, it is said, "Goliath laughed at David's sling, saying it was a child's toy, but he forgot that even a child's toy can knock you down, a fool." Bald Bull's overconfidence in his charge is no different. He barrels forward thinking he is unstoppable, only to be met with the proverbial sling. Bald Bull and Goliath teach us that size and strength mean nothing without wisdom and humility. Victory belongs to those who trust in God, not in their own power. Let us head into the round next and face our next challenger. Our next challenger is none other than Soda Popinski, the bubbly brawler with a knack for overindulgence. If you are a fan of Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, you might know that Soda Popinski was not always so bubbly. He was originally named Vodka Drunkinski in the arcade version. Why the change? Well, Nintendo wanted to make the game more family-friendly, so they swapped vodka for soda. I mean, clearly they were ahead of the curve on healthy choices, I guess. Though soda's constant guzzling still raises a few eyebrows. But the funniest aspect is why he's pink. Why? Because he's a pinko commie, of course. I mean, come on. But who is his biblical counterpart? Esau, the famously impulsive twin brother of Jacob from Genesis chapter 25, verses 29 through 34. Esau traded his birthright for a bowl of stew. Yes, stew. I know it sounds ridiculous. Much like Soda Popinski's love for soda, or vodka, depending on how you look at it, Esau's indulgence and lack of foresight led to his downfall. Both characters prioritize fleeting pleasures over lasting rewards, and both end up paying the price. The rabbinic literature has a hilarious take on Esau's impulsiveness. In Midrash Rabbah, Genesis chapter 25, verse 34, it says, "Esau saw the stew and said, 'I'm dying of hunger,' though he had just eaten hours before. His hunger was in his eyes, not in his stomach." Soda Popinski, with his constant guzzling, is no different. He drinks like the match depends on it, but it only weighs him down in the end. Soda Popinski and Esau remind us of the dangers of indulgence and short-sightedness. Whether it's soda, vodka, or stew, the lesson is clear. Do not trade something priceless for something fleeting. Now we step into the ring with Mr. Sandman, one of the most fearsome opponents in Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Mr. Sandman is powerful, fast, and downright intimidating. His punches hit like a friggin' freight train, and his signature move, the Dreamland Express, is a flurry of crushing uppercuts that can put even the best players to sleep in seconds. He is the boxer who teaches you that fear itself can be your greatest enemy. His biblical counterpart? Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, as seen in Daniel chapters 2 and 4. Nebuchadnezzar was one of the most powerful and intimidating rulers of his time. Like Mr. Sandman, he seemed unstoppable, conquering nations, building massive empires, and striking fear into everyone he encountered. His Dreamland Express moment? The prophetic and terrifying dreams he had, which Daniel interpreted for him, revealing his eventual downfall. His pride and arrogance made him formidable, but God showed that even the mightiest can be humbled. Rabbinic literature takes an interesting perspective on Nebuchadnezzar's pride. In Midrash Rabbah, Daniel chapter 4, verse 32, it says, Nebuchadnezzar walked on the roof of his palace and said, I have built this great city. But the angels laughed, for they knew that even kings are but dust beneath God's feet. Much like Mr. Sandman, whose arrogance is palpable in his taunts and menacing demeanor, Nebuchadnezzar learned the hard way that no one is untouchable. Mr. Sandman and Nebuchadnezzar remind us that fear and pride are powerful, but they can be overcome through faith and humility. Now we face Super Macho Man, the over-the-top, larger-than-life boxer in Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Super Macho Man is as flashy as they come, flexing his muscles, spinning his punches, and taunting Little Mac with every move. He is obsessed with his image and reputation, making him the ultimate showman of the ring. But underneath all the bluster, Super Macho Man's reputation make him the ultimate showman of the ring. But underneath all the bluster, Super Macho Man's spinning punches are predictable, and his bravado cannot save him from a well-timed counter. His biblical counterpart? Lucifer, the fallen angel, as described in Isaiah chapter 14, verses 12 through 15. Lucifer, like Super Macho Man, was obsessed with his own greatness. Once a glorious creation, his pride and desire to elevate himself above God led to his downfall. Just as Super Macho Man spins himself into defeat, Lucifer's arrogance caused him to fall from heaven, becoming the adversary of God's people. Rabbinic literature paints a vivid picture of Lucifer's pride. In Midrash Rabbah, Isaiah chapter 14, verse 13, it says, Lucifer said, I will ascend to the heavens and set my throne above the stars. But he didn't realize the higher he climbed, the farther he'd fall. Super Macho Man's spitting punches seem like an attempt to rise above his opponent, but much like Lucifer, he ends up crashing down when his weaknesses are exposed. Super Macho Man and Lucifer remind us that unchecked pride leads to destruction. True strength comes from humility and recognizing that all power belongs to God. At last, we come to Little Mac, the underdog of Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Yes, Little Mac is small, underestimated, and constantly facing opponents who seem far more powerful than him. Yet, with grit, determination, and faith in his coach, Doc Lewis, Little Mac overcomes every challenge. He is proof that size and appearance do not determine the strength of your heart or the power of your faith. Little Mac's biblical counterpart? King David, of course, as seen in 1 Samuel chapter 16 through chapter 17. David, like Little Mac, was an underdog. He was the youngest of his brothers and just a shepherd boy, but he had the courage to face Goliath with nothing but a sling and his faith in God. Where others saw an easy victim, God saw a champion. Like Little Mac, David's strength came not from his size, but from his unshakable faith and determination. Rabbinic literature highlights David's humility and reliance on God. In Midrash Rabbah, 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 40, it says, David chose 5 smooth stones, not because he doubted his aim, but because he knew that victory came from God, not from the stones. Little Mac's victory, too, is never about raw power. It's about strategy, courage, and the wisdom to listen to his coach. Little Mac and King David remind us that even when the odds are stacked against us, faith and perseverance can carry us to victory. They teach us that the real fight is not against external challenges, but against our own doubts. And with that, we have concluded our journey through Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. No, I'm just kidding. Come on, I'm not going to forget Iron Mike Tyson. Of course I'm including him. You know, during the 80s, he was known as the baddest man on the planet, actually. But Mike Tyson is a bonus fight that tests everything you have learned. His punches are devastating, and his speed is unmatched. Facing him feels impossible, but victory is possible with perfect timing and faith in their skills. Mike Tyson's biblical counterpart? Leviathan, the mythical sea creature described in Job chapter 41. Leviathan is a symbol of overwhelming power, chaos, and challenge. Like Tyson, Leviathan is seemingly invincible, but God reminds Job that even Leviathan is under his control. The fight against Tyson is a reminder that no matter how impossible the challenge seems, with faith in God, we can face anything. Rabbinic literature captures Leviathan's might with vivid imagery. In Midrash Rabbah, Job, chapter 41, verse 1, it is written, "Leviathan's breath kindles coals, and its heart is as strong as stone. Yet, it flees when it hears the voice of its creator." Even the mightiest adversaries are no match for God's power. Mike Tyson, like Leviathan, is a test of perseverance and faith, a bonus challenge that brings out the best in us. So, while Little Mac may seem small and Leviathan or Mike Tyson may seem unstoppable, the truth is clear. With God on our side, no challenge is too great. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe for more biblical insights. God bless.